The block reported that JP Morgan Chase is making a $20 million investment of convertible debt into Consensys. Is that figure accurate?
I cannot confirm nor deny that that figure is accurate at this point, but I might have something more to say at some point in the future.
Hey, everybody, it's Eri from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan, and I put out a 2-minute mash of clips on Twitter today. Boy, did I get some interesting replies. Yes, you're going to see that video. Crypto 2 Sale replied and said, this one giant jigsaw puzzle is starting to come together. I agree. And then there was Lazarus Mission. He replied that the level of influence that these mega banks have over the SEC is astonishing. Well, I can hardly argue with that. It was on December 20th. I was researching the Latin America media, and I saw Vitalik Buterin. He, of course, is the person who wrote the white paper on Ethereum, and he was being paraded around in Argentina. Something was a bit strange because, well, Vitalik just looked so uncomfortable. And in the photos appeared the CEO of Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, Paraguay of JP Morgan, and Tom Perucci of JP Morgan's head of the new disruptor unit. Yeah, I don't know. And when I saw the photo where Vitalik had visited the former president of Argentina for a private meeting, well, it just left me a little bit in question. The article that was published on December 18th in La Nación said that the meetings were arranged by JP Morgan. Okay, well, when I was a guest on Jeff and Chip's channel On the Chain, that was December 23rd, Attorney John Deaton was hosted, and he had a kind of ask me anything type discussion. Let me just play for you my question.
I just had a question for John, really quick. There are so many good sleuths in the community.
I agree.
And many more kind of coming up. And I want to know, we are definitely a decentralized community, but we seem to be working very well together. Is there anything that the sleuths could find that could help you with the recent changes that have come to light? Is there any one direction that you would point those sleuths to look for?
No, it's a great question, and like I wanted to give, I get a lot of the credit because I'm obviously Mika's counsel, and if I'm on a podcast, it's me on the podcast, not the whole community. But I just want to make sure everybody knows how appreciative I am of everyone in this community as well. And so I tweeted something out today where a Bitcoin maxi had tweeted out something about JP Morgan being heavily involved in Ethereum at the beginning. And so that's an area that I think is right. And I tweeted out that this area, and what exactly is that involvement? Who was involved? Because as we all know, a big part of the insider dealing is that Joe Lubin constantly would say XRP is not a competitor to Ether, and Ripple's not a competitor to Consensys, and all of this. Yet we know that 2 months before the lawsuit in August of 2018, or a little more 2 months, Consensys and JP Morgan's quorum, there's all that purchase and that merger. We know that Jay Clayton's law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell, was brokering that deal between JP Morgan as lawyers and Consensys. And we all know from that World Economic Forum document where JP Coin is listed as a potential competitor to the XRP. So I think that's an area, and each day, as you say, Eddie, we learn something more. And this isn't going to get turned off.
Okay, this is important. I'm on the xrpledger.org history website. And I think it's important to know that the XRP ledger first launched in June 2012. And you can see here that the XRPL founders gifted 80 billion XRP, the platform's native currency, to the company. And Ripple has since put the majority into escrow. So let's fast forward to 2016. But remember that Ripple has been on a payments journey since 2012. JP Morgan began developing a public ledger on top of Ethereum. They dubbed it Quorum, which had these new privacy features, enabling these trusted correspondent banking partners to transact with each other. 5 months later, JP Morgan then joined the new Ethereum Alliance. That's an important point to remember also. And they, of course, wanted to learn how to build smart contracts, which are the code executable agreements, which can be very handy in banking. Now, JP Morgan is one of the banks who was chosen to pour 107 million into R3. And they were obviously doing this deep dive into blockchain, right? Okay, but in April 2017, JP Morgan backed out of the fundraising for R3. R3 at that time had 80 financial institutions as members. They were really trying to reach that goal of 150 million, and they were in turn going to give up a 60% stake of their company. Now, check this out. At the time that JP Morgan backed out, it was said by Charlie Cooper, who was the managing director at R3, JP Morgan parted ways with R3 to pursue a very distinct technology path, which is at odds with the one chosen by the global financial service industry, represented by their 80 plus members. So this tells me, now I don't think it's hard to see, that they didn't want to share the toys or money in the sandbox, right? JP Morgan really wanted to have it all. It ain't the money, it's the money. So it was then a few months later that the CEO of JP Morgan began making really nasty comments, particularly about Bitcoin. Oh, do I remember how that negatively affected the entire crypto market. In fact, the day that he first made that public comment, we had a real negative price impact. So no doubt this threw shade on the entire digital asset ecosystem, slowing down bank adoption. Now let's jump to August 2020, 4 months before the SEC files a lawsuit against Ripple. Joe Lubin, the Ethereum founder, part of that group, and also the founder of Consensys, they acquired Quorum. But you know what? There's no proof that payment was ever given. In fact, it is not transparent at all. They're very, very opaque when it comes to actually what kind of deal was that. Instead, we have this explanation about the relationship between JP Morgan and Consensys. I want you to listen.
Tell us your big news.
So Consensys has been working with JP Morgan for quite a long time, more recently, to discuss how we might work together more intimately and change the nature of the Quorum project. So the Quorum team is heavily engaged with us for at least a year to facilitate transition, and we're working together on a shared roadmap that we've defined and will continue to define together. I can't say much more of a detailed nature about that right now, but we are working intimately with those people. JP Morgan, I believe, has around 4,000 financial institutions in their correspondent banking network. So one could imagine that all of those organizations and perhaps more will eventually end up on IIN. So Consensys is supporting that network. And Consensys is also supporting JPM coin.
So roughly at that same time, JP Morgan launches Onyx. This is with the JPM digital coin, a solution to clear multi-currencies on a ledger for cross-border payments and intraday payments. Members get access to the JPM coin to support their payment transactions. Now listen to who is heading that up in Asia.
For this, our speaker is Christine Moy, Global Head of Link Onyx by JP Morgan.
Hi, I'm Christine Moy, Global Head of the Link Network, an offering from the newly created business division Onyx by JP Morgan. Following the Link Network, our major program of work is focused on building out JP Morgan coin and clearing networks. While building the technology was certainly difficult, the hardest part was working through the various internal and external approvals required for legal and regulatory treatment of the blockchain-based deposit system. We are proud to announce that we are now live and able to facilitate cross-border transfers for corporate clients 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, without being limited by traditional local cutoff times and pre-funding requirements.
So when I tweeted out today that the fact is Ripple and XRP threatened JP Morgan and Ethereum domination, I had a few people push back on that Ethereum statement. But I think, well, you can't argue JP Morgan wasn't threatened by Ripple and the use of XRP. They want to dominate the space, for sure. And if you weren't aware that Ethereum domination was also threatened, I will remind you that XRP flipped Ethereum on market cap several times. And for 5 years, up to the time the SEC lawsuit took place, it outperformed Ethereum. In fact, let my good YouTube friend, Moon Lambo, tell you in his words.
The most important chart of all, XRP has outperformed Ethereum until the SEC complaint. When this lawsuit is over, the 12x gap to Ethereum is eaten by far, not even counting the IPO of Ripple, Flare, and smart contracts and NFTs for XRP Ledger in 2022. 2022 will be ours, and then the little 100 emoji right there. And so here is the chart full screen. Look at this. And this goes back to, I guess, a little bit less than halfway through 2017. You can see where it begins right here. And so this chart, what's blue is the price movement for XRP, and then the orange line is Ethereum. And so this chart begins at an arbitrarily selected point in time, but that's not a critique. I'm just observing what is factually the case. This is a long chart, so it paints a really long period of time, so it's functionally useful. So again, when I say that it's arbitrarily chosen starting date, that's just a factual statement. You do have to start somewhere. That's not some sort of critique, just to be clear. This is a sufficiently long time period, going back, at this point, almost 5 years.
It's easy to see why power brokers were set in motion to greenlight Ethereum and attack. Let's keep calling for an independent investigation. All right, everybody, let's jump to the fluff. I am going to share with you again and bring it right into a very interesting cultural story for Japan. This is my favorite photographer. He does miniatures, and his name is Tanaka Tatsuya. And I'll tell you, this one is good. What you're looking at is what's called in Japan yabusame. This is archery on horseback, and it has a very long history in Japan. The competitions have gone from sacred ritual to sport. And I want to point out one particular competition that is very interesting. So here we have Tokyo, where my mouse is. And up here in the north in Aomori is Towada. Towada is very chilly at this time of year. This is a photo that somebody posted on Twitter about 21 hours ago. It gets very, very cold. Those cold winds come down from Siberia, and it just, I'm sure this waterfall freezes over in the height of winter. But in the springtime, oh, is it nice. They have a really special women's event that takes place under the falling blossoms. Yeah, look at that. That's real blossoms falling in the wind. It just couldn't be more beautiful. And the women are showing this special technique that was developed by the samurai. It's called tachi skashi. And it is a way to ride, to balance yourself so that you can correctly hit the targets. And it's really so exciting to see these gals compete fiercely on a 200-meter straight shot with 3 targets in all to get their score. And what you want to see is a little bit of the detail here. The hit is announced by the opening of a red parasol. And so the final scores are calculated with the number of hits and the time that it takes for them to go down the track. So this is a super fun event if you're ever here during cherry blossom season, and you can go up north to the Aomori region. This is a great story. By the way, I'm going to put a link to this video in the description. It's in English. And this is the sensei, and she went head to head with her student to battle for first place, and her student won. And it's very heartwarming to see the sensei, the teacher, embrace her student, how happy she was. Look at that skill. Wow. Really good. Really fun, right? Really fun, really fun. Oh, yeah, there she is. So I'm going to put the link and just have a watch. It's just 4 minutes long. It's really good. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.